The third studio album from the American-born singer-songwriter Nick Jonas sees the young pop artist's follow-up from a solid spell in 2015. That's if you're looking at it at the American charts. Here in the UK, not so much. He only achieved one top 5 single with Jealous, the infinitely better Chains only just managed to creep into the top 80, and Levels, released on a reissue, came in at number 46. This year he released his new project, Last Year Was Complicated, an album inspired by the breakup from his former girlfriend, former Miss Universe 2012 Olivia Culpo, and what was hinted at in interviews was an album that would relive some of his experiences. Here the album attempts to contextualise his thoughts, feelings and emotions during this phase, the recuperation process, and what he's wanting as a result of the aftermath. And I use the word attempt because, if truth be told, when you get past the initial listening process and you start delving into the album's lyrics, one thing that does strike me is that thematically this album is all over the place. What do I mean by this? Well, on the surface, when learning about the inspiration behind this project, you'd expect this to follow a consistent pattern, detailing the highs and lows in a formulaic fashion, but that's not the case. For example, the opening track Voodoo reads as Nick's desires to break free from a woman who's got him under her spell, hence the song title, yet he finds himself powerless to resist her before actually finding the gumption to leave her on the track Champagne Problems, but not before signifying the end with a few drinks, only to wind up having drunken sex and seemingly change his mind and stick around. All of a sudden the next track Close, featuring Swedish singer Tove Lo, rolls around and Nick tries to paint himself as someone who can't open up and be vulnerable with his girl, which would have made for a fine song, and Tove herself is always solid vocally, but when played up against other songs like Touch, where he expresses his desire to get sexually intimate with his woman, Don't Make Me Choose, where he's conflicted between staying with someone despite her apparent lack of trust in him, or get out of something without trying to salvage what he clearly thinks is a good relationship the two have got going on, and the album closer, Comfortable, which sees Jonas going on a huge ego trip, claiming that the process in order to find the one requires him to have gone through girl after girl in order to wind up with the one he's with. I do struggle to buy Jonas as a conflicted soul, and as I've hinted at, what doesn't help is all these tracks appearing at such random positions on the album. Nevertheless, there are some tracks here that I do enjoy, irrespective of album positioning. Despite its at times hyperbolic lyricism concerning wanting to destroy all reminders of a previous flame left in his place, I can't deny that I do enjoy Chainsaw a fair amount, and I'd say it's my favourite track on the album. Bacon, featuring Ty Dolla $ign, also has the questionable lyric concerning the potential comparison between Some Flirtatious Girl and Said Food, but the song has a certain amount of swagger to it that does make the song fun. The song Under You shows Jonas pining for a girl that he never got the chance to get with and regrets letting her go, and there's definitely a noticeable earnestness to be found here. The penultimate track, Unhinged, is one of the very few moments where Jonas's earnestness comes off blindingly well, with his admittance that his indecisiveness and apprehension to fully commit is causing this relationship to hit the rocks, with little signs showing progression. Despite its production choices, Voodoo is another infectious track, and Good Girls, with Big Sean making a guest appearance, has Nick despairing at the sight of young ladies portraying themselves as bad girls because society, and even men to a certain degree, have come to expect that of them. As far as I'm concerned, this would have been the best track on the album if it weren't for Big Sean's half-arsed delivery and conflicting the song's message within the first 2 lines. Instrumentally, the album is heavily steeped in the pop R&B genre, and I'd say that this is where the album gets a bit stronger in comparison to the lyrics. The stripped back, and in comparison to the other tracks, rather restrained piano and drum combination with electronic drums and constant synth bass in the background on Chainsaw is good. The acoustic guitar on Touch provides a decent rhythm, with the deep bass synth is a particular highlight. The bass line on Bacon has a good groove going on, which is the same story to be found on Under You, and the combination of drum beats and synth lines give the difference an enjoyable danceable nature. Even in the moments where the album goes down a different route, the album is still likeable. The piano-led Unhinged plays well with the soft drum beat and brief moments of strings, as well as Jonas delivering what is possibly the best vocal performance on this album. The Indian influences on Voodoo fused with the trap-influenced hi-hats and the Caribbean-style steel drums on Close are also an unexpected welcome. But there are some moments that I do take umbrage with. For all its good qualities, the difference does feel like it's trying to juggle too many sounds at once. Comfortable doesn't sound like it knows whether it wants to be a dance track or a brooding trap-influenced R&B song. Plus, I'd be remiss to not mention the spoken monologue, which is highly unnecessary, and Champagne Problems, which is inundated with a myriad of incredibly annoying robotic sounds in the instrumental breaks, and even the more irritating sound effect riff in the bridge, which I think was going for the sound of pouring alcohol, but the electronic nature of it comes off as somewhat unnerving. As a whole, this album isn't all that bad, and I do find myself enjoying more than I thought. Whilst I do recognise that this album does have problems, I do feel that with a bit more tempering and with a little more focus, Jonas could have released something that was a lot more consistent. Vocally, he's not a terrible singer, but the overuse of the manipulated electronic effects, occasional pitch shifting, and layered vocals, which can be a turn off, especially in some of the tracks where he delves into his upper register, these do tend to suggest a lack of confidence in Jonas as a performer. Personally, I recognise that there are fragments of a maturing pop artist who's still trying to find his feet and find what kind of an artist he wants to be, and that there is the possibility that this guy could release something that's better than what we're given here, but he's not at that stage yet for me. He's going to need a little more direction in my opinion. Overall, I score this album a 67 out of 100.